There are thousands of alleged haunted locations around the world, and I thought what's better way to start this month of creepiness off than talking about 5 that are especially known for their paranormal activity and scary encounters. So let's get right into it, from the most haunted place in the Philippines to an old house in Indiana that during an investigation was responsible for some of the most credible and hard to debunk paranormal pictures ever taken. Here are 5 of some of the most haunted places on the planet. Like with all these videos this month, hit those lights, sit back and enjoy. The Winchester Mystery House. The Winchester House is a huge mansion in San Jose, California, and has been shrouded in darkness for many years. If you didn't already know the history behind it, it was the original personal project and residence of Sarah Winchester, the wealthy widow of gun magnate William Winchester, treasurer of the Winchester Repeating Arms Company. It all started after the death of Sarah and William's only child, when they were convinced by a medium that their child's death was a result of a curse put on the family as a result of the many deaths caused by the guns the Winchester family had created. After this, and then William's death in 1881, Sarah moved from the family home to start a new life in 1884. She chose to settle into a half-built farmhouse in San Jose, California, and used her mass wealth to create an obscure and unusual home. Over the years, she kept adding more to the building in an attempt to outwit the spirits and ghosts that she believed had followed her. She had maze-like hallways, stairs leading to nowhere, and secret rooms all created to trick and confuse the spirits of those killed by Winchester rifles. After passing away in 1922, construction on the humongous house completely stopped and it was open to the public, giving people an insight into the paranoid mind of Sarah Winchester. So is it really one of the most haunted places in the US and even the world? Well, there's certainly no shortage of reports and paranormal sightings. And over the years, the thought that Sarah and the thousands killed by Winchester rifles still wander the maze of corridors has caused many paranormal groups to investigate the property. Even the popular group Ghost Adventures experienced some activities during their lockdown. They felt strong energy in the house and caught an interesting piece of footage of what they believe was a hand manifesting itself near a staircase. But some of the most interesting stories come from the house's caretakers, one of which was working late and heard footsteps and breathing long after the house was empty. He also heard the sound of a screw turning and dropping to the floor, but could not figure out where it came from. On another day, a different caretaker was walking through the property turning the lights off for the night, but all of the lights on the 3rd floor kept turning back on as he walked away. But the creepiest story comes from the office manager who saw a woman sitting in the dining room when no visitors were in the house. He acknowledged her and later asked his colleague what she was doing in the building and why she was dressed in old clothes. His colleague didn't have an answer, and when they both went back to the living room to see her, she had disappeared. But it's not just workers and paranormal groups who witness things. Visitors to the property who have no interest in the hauntings also regularly report banging doors, strange voices and moans, windows shattering, cold spots and doorknobs turning by themselves, and are convinced the place is haunted. Today, the Winchester House and all its bizarre features is still open to the public, and the paranormal activity continues to be reported year after year. The Manila Film Center. The Manila Film Center is said to be the most haunted place in the Philippines, and it's unlike anything else in this list, because the story behind it, which led to its believed hauntings, is so tragic that many refuse to believe it and prefer to think of it as an urban legend. After doing some research, however, there does appear to be some truth behind it. The Manila Film Center was the ambitious project of the mega-rich Imelda Marcos, who at the time was the wife of the then Philippine President Ferdinand Marcos. She was well known for her extravagant behavior and decided the Philippines needed a national film center. So in January 1981, Imelda ordered the construction of the project, giving an unrealistic deadline for completion of just 1 year. With a budget of $25 million and a workforce of 4,000 laborers, construction began, overseen by Betty Benitez. But in November that year, a section of scaffolding collapsed and at least 168 workers fell and were buried in the drying cement below them. The Marcos administration quickly closed ranks and the accident was shrouded in secrecy. The official statement said that 28 workers were killed and all of their bodies were recovered. Construction then continued and the film center opened on time in January 1982. However, rumours started spreading that instead of the bodies being recovered, Betty Benitez ordered the cement be poured over the victims to save time, so building could continue and meet Imelda's strict deadline. It was even said that some victims were still alive but were trapped up to their waist in cement when the concrete was poured on top of them. After the rumours, one of the victim's relatives apparently put a curse on Benitez, and a couple of months after the disaster, she was killed in a car accident, so couldn't be questioned. Despite its huge budget, the venue was not a success, as its reputation as being creepy and haunted meant people didn't want to work or visit there. It's now thought that the spirits of the fallen workers whose bodies are still trapped in the concrete tomb roam around looking for peace and a proper burial. One creepy experience was told by a visitor who claimed he was given a calling card by a stranger, and he was instructed to call the number and say that he was fine and close to coming home. When the visitor called the number, he found out that it was the wife of one of the victims of the accident who was encased in the foundations at Manila. These are just a few of the many strange occurrences experienced in the building, which include whispers and moans coming from the foundations and limbless apparitions roaming around the building, leading many to believe the Manila Film Center is the most haunted location in the Philippines. Beechworth Lunatic Asylum. The Beechworth Asylum, later named Maydays, is located in the picturesque town of Beechworth, not far from Melbourne, and is thought to be the most haunted building in Australia. It opened in 1867, and at any one time, it housed over 1,200 mentally disturbed or insane people, and by the time the hospital closed in 1995, over 3,000 patients had died there. With that, there is no surprise that the old asylum is said to be teeming with paranormal activity, and one of the most reported sightings is that of former patient James Kelly, the uncle of the infamous outlaw Ned Kelly. James spent the last days of his life at the asylum after his mind was broken from hard labour and punishment for his crimes, and his eerie signature can still be seen scratched on the window of one of the asylum's many rooms. The shape of an old man in the window that was once the bell tower is also a common sighting, along with the sound of children laughing, and even an encounter a 10-year-old boy had with a little boy called James, who he said lived there, along with the ghost of Arthur the gardener and a Jewish lady who was thrown from a window by a fellow patient. All of this activity has led the asylum to become a huge hotspot in Australia for investigators looking for paranormal evidence. And in 2015, a ghost hunting team caught a picture of what they believe is a young girl kneeling in the gravel wing of the asylum. The gravel wing had a bad reputation among patients, as it's here where medication was given and electroshock treatment was performed. The ghost hunting team believe it could be the daughter of one of the patients, as it was not uncommon for them to be brought in with their children, and the ghost of a little girl has been reported here several times before. The ghost hunting team also caught another apparition on camera and believe it's someone standing in the hallway. But one of the most harrowing stories that took place at this asylum, and could be another reason why it's haunted, is that of a missing patient whose decomposing body was found up a tree. Their ghost is said to haunt the grounds and has often been seen near the tree where they were found. So with all the stories and encounters at Beechworth Mental Asylum, you can see why people believe it's the most haunted place in Australia, and one of the most haunted locations in the world. The Screaming Tunnel. It doesn't get scarier than a creepy old dark tunnel. Add in the fact that it's abandoned and supposedly haunted, and what you're left with is truly terrifying. Well, this is exactly the case with the abandoned rail tunnel in Niagara Falls, also known as the Screaming Tunnel. It was originally built by the Grand Trunks Railway Company in the early 1900s, but when funds ran out with the onset of World War I, the project was abandoned and never picked back up. Then, after an incident, the tunnel gained a notorious reputation for being haunted. The story goes that a nearby house caught fire and the young daughter of the family who lived there was set ablaze. In an attempt to extinguish the flames, she ran into the damp tunnel to roll in the dirt, but was unable to put out the flames and burnt to death inside the tunnel. Another version of this story has emerged that is even more disturbing, but it's not sure how true it is. It's claimed that the girl's father chased her into the tunnel in a custody row with his wife, then covered her in petrol and burnt her alive so neither of them could have her. Regardless which story is true, the scream she let out that echoed from the tunnel as the poor girl burnt is what's earned it the name the Screaming Tunnel. And there is an old Bloody Mary type tale that if you stand in the middle of the tunnel and light a match, it will blow itself out and her screams will be heard. Now this could just be an urban legend, but people's experiences are a little harder to explain, and has earned it the reputation as one of the most haunted places in Canada. The many visitors to the tunnel each year report the usual cold spots and eerie feelings that seem to come with most paranormal areas, but also soft whispers and the fact that some people are unable to light matches at all, despite there being no wind, makes this one especially creepy. And despite being just a few meters long, it continues to attract many people each year in hopes of experiencing its alleged paranormal activity, and the scream of the girl who lost her life there. The O'Hare Mansion. Located in Greencastle, Indiana, the O'Hare mansion was built in the 1800s and was home to the O'Hare family and several of their descendants for many years, until it was demolished in the 20th century. However, shortly before its demolition in the 1990s, Guy Winters and his friends decided to explore the house after reports of paranormal activity. During their time there, they all said they felt a very eerie presence, and Guy decided to venture upstairs by himself as none of the others would come with him. Whilst up there, he said one of the room's walls were bare. However, as he walked out and looked back, he said there was now writing on the walls, which was not there before. He then felt he was being overwhelmed by a spirit, so quickly left the building, but not before he and the group took some more photos. At the time, none of the apparitions the team caught on camera were visible to them, but when they looked over the footage and developed the photos, Guy realised that they were not alone in that house and that they had caught some of the most convincing paranormal evidence ever. They caught 3 apparitions in different locations around the building, as well as some footage of a white mist flying past the camera. Despite reports that the video footage and images have been faked, they have been heavily analysed and there is no evidence of tampering. Even relatives of the O'Hare family who have nothing to gain from the publicity claim the photos show a striking resemblance to Irene O'Hare, the late mother of Mary O'Hare, who got in touch with Guy after seeing the photos, and also Mary's Aunt Vera, who she believes can be seen at the back door. Although it seems the footage is not fake, that's not to say it does show the ghosts of the O'Hare family, but it sure is strange. So do you think Guy and his team captured what many say is the most credible paranormal evidence to date, or was it just a natural occurrence or some kind of camera blur? What's your thoughts? So that's 5 haunted locations around the world. I hope you've enjoyed, and I'll see you very soon for another creepy video.